Hey loves, it's Brit, and in this video I'm talking about natal moon inconjunct or quincunx to Pluto. So I think I've done all the moon Pluto aspects except the inconjunct or the quincunx, which yeah, we're going to talk about this today. So because the quincunx aspect creates such an inner tension because it's kind of like a sixth house or an eighth house energy or connotation when we have a quincunx or inconjunct aspect. This one might be the most uncomfortable of all to have in your natal chart because it produces more so than a relationship difficulty like some of the other aspects. Even though it can cause relational difficulties, it more so creates a constant feeling of inner anxiety and stress, and sometimes paranoia, even more so than the other aspects because of the sixth house, eighth house connotation, and because of the moon representing our emotions and the moon representing the fourth house. The childhood, our emotional reactions, our instinctual reactions, how we feel in the day to day, right? This one can show that we feel generally uneasy, or it's very easy for us to be triggered into feeling very anxious and even downright paranoid in some cases with this quincunx. Now, on the positive side, because of how tense this feels, like this to me is like, and actually all quincunxes are kind of like nail biting aspects, but like this one most of all to me is like a nail biting aspect. Like you're just like, and it's like that's how I could describe it. But what ends up happening here is like these people might be the most plutonic of them all because they cannot escape this subtle inner niggling. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's not so subtle. This niggling feeling of like something is wrong, I'm uneasy, that they end up becoming like a researcher. These out of all the moon Pluto aspects, I mean the square too, they're definitely huge researchers, but like the quincunx or the inconjunct even more so because of the kind of constant unease and like yeah, like kind of the eighth house energy of the quincunx aspect in itself is like this is a very internal struggle, so that forces the person to try to figure out what is going on because they might realize that they might feel incredibly ashamed that they feel so uneasy. Like they can feel very separated from everyone because of their feelings and because of their anxiety and because of their way that they see things in the world that's actually far deeper than anybody. Nobody can equal their depth of emotional sensing and like empathic ability, although sometimes their empathic ability borders on paranoia. So they do have a real psychic ability and gifts there, but at the same time, if they haven't done emotional healing work on themselves to actually have like a fourth house feeling of like serenity and groundedness and emotional like stability, their psychic impressions can be off because they're going to be more negative because Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, and we're not in a comfortable emotional state here, at least not, on the outset of our life or at the beginning, right? Where we're like coming from, and likely the childhood, the home life in the childhood was very unsettling in some way. Likely the mother was a very unsettling influence. The mother was someone who could have been very plutonic herself, and there was a lack of nurturing or a lack of like being like I feel like with this quincunx, the square two of Pluto, all the moon Pluto aspects, there's a feeling of like when the other kids were out playing, they were dealing with the emotional problems of the mother or the emotional climate of the home life. Like, so this is where it came from, is that they, when they seek emotional stability and fulfillment, immediately Pluto comes in and is like, all these crazy emotions, all of this, like, Pluto is like the sludge of the emotional body. Like, it's like the Scorpio energy of, all this toxicity and like all of this. It could even be, in some cases, very scary happenings could have been happening, like in the early home life or the childhood. So this is where this is coming from. And if it wasn't the childhood, although I'm quite certain with this quincunx, especially if it's close in orb, there was something very unsettling or upsetting or confusing about the childhood or the mother. But if it wasn't in this lifetime, it's carried over from a past lifetime. There's been the feminine energy has been violated. It has been because the moon is also a part of our femininity, our mothering energy. So there's something very invasive about the mother. Maybe there was like a lack of boundaries with the mother, or just something very uncomfortable in the childhood. But rather than project this outward, this person with the quincunx takes it into themselves and thinks that it's them, and thinks that there's something wrong with them. There's shame. There's something, and in some cases, the only thing that's really wrong is the emotional body is so at war with itself. Like it's like, so they do need to like regulate the nervous system, and like, I'm imagining like just like swimming in the ocean. The water element is going to be so soothing if you have this quincunx, like, because that's really what the emotional body is about. And that's really what the wound is here, is like, it's very emotional, it's very deep, it's very rooted in the unconscious and rooted in the childhood. So there's a need to self-soothe before reacting emotionally with this aspect. So developing like, self-soothing techniques, simplicity is also key with this aspect, because there's this tendency to go overboard in researching and getting to the bottom of things, which is actually one of their gifts. But at the same time, it can even produce more anxiety. Like, so for example, like it's great to study astrology if you're a moon Pluto person, but with the quincunx, I feel like in some cases there might be an obsession with studying astrology and all its aspects that it actually produces more anxiety, rather than getting the healing from it. So it's almost like in some cases you want to take a step back and like do the most simple things to emotionally regulate with this quincunx, because you've probably already done all of the very deep and intense and in-depth things with this quincunx. So it's like simplicity can be key. Not to say that you're ever going to be able to shut off the researcher and the investigator, the detective energy, and not that you would want to, but there's a time and a place. And when you want to be emotionally soothed and calm and peaceful, then you want to take a little bit of a break from some of that energy sometimes. And you want to look at the sign that the moon is in to see where the emotional fulfillment can come from, because the moon really is the recipe for emotional happiness, like, and a harmonious home life, what you need to have to feel really, rooted and really, just like emotionally secure and safe. And that's a really important thing with this quincunx. So looking to that, and then how can you integrate Pluto into that in a healthier way? Like, so what can happen with this quincunx is like Pluto will try to like destroy that moon's sense of stability or safety. Like, as soon as you get that fulfillment, you get that hit of emotional connection with someone, or emotional stability, then Pluto will come in and be like, are you sure about that? Maybe you need to be very freaked out instead, or whatever. You want to look at the house placement of Pluto, the sign of Pluto, to see like where that's going to come from. But that's kind of like a constant theme with these people. So it can be a really difficult one. Like I said, quincunxes in general are like nail biting aspects, and this one is especially so. But it does have many gifts, and usually these people will end up having like profound wisdom and knowledge about emotions, about like childhood wounds, like inner child healing, and because they've kind of been forced to look at stuff like this that is deeper, and it is like not a superficial lifetime in any way, shape, or form. And they are gifted at astrology because of the study and the obsessive nature of it, to try to get some relief, to try to get some understanding of what is going on. So there's many gifts in this. The psychic ability too, once they've found that inner calm, can be off the charts. So it can end up being a gift. They can end up having a gift for deep relationships, intense intimacy, and like they're really not here for superficial connections in any way. So this can end up being a gift, like that they have this researching ability because they've likely studied, all these various things to do with relationships or to do with emotions or to do with spiritual things. It just depends on wherever the Pluto is leading them to go through this death and rebirth of the emotions. So it can end up leading to like a profound wisdom and a depth that I think not even the other moon Pluto aspects can equal, because the quincunx is just such a anxiety provoking, uneasy aspect that it actually ends up like there's more wisdom that is gained from it than other aspects, because it's like if you don't deal with it, there can end up being health problems. There can end up being related to the feminine energy. There could be cycle problems. There could be definitely emotional problems, but the emotional problems, especially if the sixth house is involved, this could end up leading to health problems. So it's almost like too, you want to avoid emotional excess with this quincunx. You're really trying to attain balance, composure, moderation, because they have a tendency to go all in to things emotionally. Like they're all in or they're all out, when really it's like they need to find that baseline, like stability, right? Not like, total like emotional like exuberance, joy, like positive emotions. Like there's a need to like regulate, and like not total despair either. Like meeting in the middle, finding this place of like not even joy and not despair, but like just neutrality, gaining neutrality. Being neutral is something that can really heal them too, because there's a tendency to see things either or, black, white, right? It's like to have that true peace, we want to just try and be neutral with this quincunx. And then the feminine energy can come out, right, in its fullness. There's a real passionate, there's a real like even like erotic, like sensual feminine with this moon Pluto aspect that doesn't always get to come out because of the unease and the anxiousness and the researching and questioning, So when we can come to that neutral place, the feminine energy, the heart energy, the passion, the real mothering energy that these people have, they're kind of like the obsessive mother in a way, right? But that can really come out in a healthy way once they've come to a bit of composure or like emotional neutrality, which, like I said, the simple things are key here with this one. But I'd love to know your experience of this quincunx. If you have it in your natal chart, what has it been like for you? I'm sending you all the love. This is not an easy one. I love you guys. Thank you for your requests. Keep those requests coming, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.